Many centuries ago, in a forgotten corner of the Egyptian desert, a shepherd tended his flock amid the arid slopes of an ordinary day. As he called his sheep one by one, he noticed that one of them was missing. In search of the animal, he followed footprints that led him to a deep, dark cave. Inside the cave, he found not just the ship, but something much bigger: ancient jars, carefully sealed, hidden among the shadows. Curious, the shepherd opened one of the jars and discovered old parchments, fragile but incredibly well preserved. He had no idea he had just unearthed a lost piece of history. Those scrolls, known today as the Nag Hammadi texts, contained words that had been hidden for more than 1,000 years. Among them was a rare and deeply intriguing text, the Gospel of Thomas. Unlike the Gospels we know, it contained words attributed to Jesus that had not been recorded in traditional scriptures. But what was so special about this Gospel? Why did he stay hidden for so long? The answer is in your message. It is not just a lost text. It contains a verse so powerful that, according to scholars, it can completely transform the way we see life, faith, and purpose. Now, think for a moment. What if there was a teaching from Jesus capable of clearly explaining how to achieve inner peace and true purpose? Not as something distant or unattainable, but as a living truth, present within each one of us. This is exactly what the Gospel of Thomas proposes. He presents to us the kingdom of God not as a physical place or a future event, but as a reality accessible now, both within us and around us. How many times have you felt lost, looking for answers in external places? Perhaps you sought meaning in achievements, in other people's opinions, or even in imposed beliefs. However, this gospel brings a transformative message. What you seek is already within you. And this is where the most powerful verse comes into play. It reveals that the key to wholeness lies not in the outside world, but in a journey of self-discovery and connection with the divine that dwells within us all. To understand the impact of this verse, it is important to know the context of its discovery. The Nag Hammadi texts were found in 1945 by chance, but their contents shook the traditional view of Christian spirituality. These documents, hidden for centuries, contained not only the Gospel of Thomas, but also other equally revolutionary writings, such as the Gospel of Mary Magdalene and the Gospel of Philip. These texts were not widely known because in the past they were deliberately excluded from the official canon of the Bible. This happened at a time when religious leaders sought to consolidate a single narrative about Jesus' teachings, setting aside messages that defied convention. However, the Gospel of Thomas offers something that few texts achieve: a direct connection with the words of Jesus, without intermediate interpretations. He challenges us to look inside ourselves and find there the answers we often seek outside. One of the most striking passages says, "If those who lead them say that the kingdom is in heaven, then the birds of the air will go before them. If they say it is in the sea, the fish will precede it. The kingdom is within you and around you." This verse, with such simple and profound words, summarizes an essential truth. Plenitude is within our reach, as long as we learn to see it. What makes this message even more powerful is its universality. No matter what your belief or cultural context, the idea that the kingdom is within us invites each person to reflect on their own existence. How many times do we stop listening to our intuition, ignoring the inner voice that guides us? How many times do we look for meaning in external places while the answers are within our reach all the time? This teaching is not just a philosophical idea. It has practical implications that can transform how we live and relate to the world. Before we continue on this journey, I want to make a special request. Just as the Gospel of Thomas teaches us that small gestures can reveal great truths, your support here is also transformative. Did you know that the majority of people who watch our videos are not yet subscribed to the channel? If this content has resonated with you, subscribe and leave a like. This simple act helps us reach more people and continue sharing messages as impactful as this one. Together, we can take this knowledge even further. Throughout this video, we will explore the meaning of this verse and how it can be applied to modern life. But before that, a question. What do you believe is missing in your life? Can this feeling of emptiness be filled by looking within? Jesus' message in the Gospel of Thomas suggests so. He calls us to a journey of self-discovery, where true wealth is not in material things or status, but in connecting with the divine that lives within each of us. At every stage of human history, the search for answers about who we are and what our purpose is has been at the center of all the big questions. From the philosophers of ancient Greece to the spiritual teachings of the great religions, this desire to understand one's essence and connection with the divine has been a universal journey. Among the ancient texts rediscovered in the last century, the Gospel of Thomas stands out for bringing a unique approach to self-knowledge and spirituality, often ignored by conventional traditions. Discovered in 1945 in the village of Nag Hammadi, Egypt, the Gospel of Thomas was among the manuscripts that were hidden for more than 1,000 years. These texts were found by chance, buried in clay jars, probably to protect them during periods of religious persecution. When translated and studied by academics, they revealed teachings that surprised both scholars and religious people of the time. At the heart of the Gospel of Thomas is a powerful and simple idea. The kingdom of God is not a distant place, but something that is both within us and all around us. This vision challenged traditional interpretations that placed the divine as something external, often inaccessible without intermediaries. Take, for example, the verse in which Jesus says, "If those who lead you say, 'The kingdom is in heaven,' then the birds of the air will precede you. If they say, 'It is in the sea,' then the fish will precede it. The kingdom is within you and around you." With these words, Jesus breaks with the idea that the divine can only be found in sacred places or in the distant future. This teaching has practical implications. How often do we look for answers in external sources, in books, in leaders, in beliefs imposed by traditions, while ignoring the inner voice that calls us to look within? This message invites us to reconsider how we live our lives, suggesting that true transformation begins when we recognize the divine potential that resides within us. Throughout history, many spiritual traditions have echoed this idea that self-knowledge is the path to wholeness. Philosophers like Socrates, for example, taught that know thyself is the basis of all wisdom. However, the Gospel of Thomas takes this idea to a deeper level, linking self-knowledge to the experience of the divine. Jesus teaches that by knowing ourselves, we not only understand our true essence, but we also connect to the kingdom of God, which is present in every moment of our lives. In the modern context, this teaching resonates even more. We live in an age of constant distractions, where external voices often drown out our intuition and make us feel disconnected from ourselves. Recent research shows that practices like meditation and mindfulness, which are essentially ways of looking within, have tangible benefits for mental and physical health. Studies published over the last decade indicate that people who practice introspection regularly report higher levels of well-being and purpose in life. This makes us reflect. Could it be that Jesus' words in the Gospel of Thomas were guiding us, since that time, towards a path of inner harmony? Another striking aspect of this text is its approach to the perception of the divine in everyday life. By saying that the kingdom of God is all around us, Jesus invites us to see the sacred in small things. Think about the last time you felt connected to something bigger. It could have been when observing nature, experiencing a moment of gratitude, or even helping someone. These simple moments, often ignored, are manifestations of the divine, according to the teachings of Thomas. This vision also challenges us to rethink how we live. Are we truly present in the here and now, noticing the beauty and meaning around us? Or are we so caught up in worries and distractions that we lose sight of what's essential? Jesus suggests that by opening our eyes to the present, we discover that the kingdom of God is closer than we imagine. This leads us to an important lesson. Spirituality does not need to be something distant or restricted to specific rituals or practices. It is available in every moment, as long as we are willing to perceive it. However, the Gospel of Thomas also brings a warning. Jesus declares that those who do not know themselves live in poverty, and they themselves are that poverty. This statement forces us to reflect on how ignorance of our true nature can lead us to a life of dissatisfaction and emptiness. The search for self-knowledge, therefore, is not just a choice, it is a necessity to live fully. After all, how can we find the kingdom of God within us if we are not willing to look within and face our truths? The message of the Gospel of Thomas is not just a spiritual theory, it is a practical invitation to transformation. She challenges us to listen to our intuition, explore our essence, and recognize the divine in ourselves and the world around us. In a society that often values the external to the detriment of the internal, this teaching appears as a light, reminding us that the answers we seek are much closer than we imagine. If you've made it this far, it's because this content is bringing something valuable to you. How about taking a simple step and supporting the channel? Leave your like and sign up now. This helps us reach more people with transformative messages like this and continue to bring you relevant content. We count on your support. Over the centuries, humanity has always been attracted to the unknown. There is something irresistible about discovering hidden truths or unraveling mysteries that seemed beyond our understanding. At the heart of the Gospel of Thomas, we find a message that embodies this quest, a call to explore not just external secrets, but also the depths of our own being. At the heart of this text is the idea that the divine is not an enigma destined to remain hidden. On the contrary, Jesus declares that everything that is hidden will be revealed. This promise is profoundly transformative, as it invites us to look beyond appearances and seek truths that may be hidden in plain sight. But what exactly does this revelation mean, and how can it impact our everyday lives? The concept of revelation in the Gospel of Thomas is closely linked to the idea of perception. For Jesus, revelation is not something that happens passively. It requires a conscious effort on our part. He challenges us to look beyond the superficial and open our eyes to the truths within and around us. It reminds us that true understanding does not come from external sources, but from a deep connection with our own intuition and spirituality. For example, in one of the best-known verses of this gospel, Jesus states, "Recognize what is before your eyes, and what is hidden will be revealed." This simple phrase carries immense wisdom. She suggests that the path to unraveling mysteries begins with the ability to observe the present carefully. How many times do we go through life distracted, ignoring what is right in front of us? This distraction prevents us from perceiving the answers that are often hidden in the details of everyday life. This idea connects with another essential concept: interior lighting. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus teaches us that the divine is not confined to temples, ceremonies, or specific places. It is in us and all around us, waiting to be discovered. However, this discovery requires courage to face our doubts, prejudices, and fears. After all, the search for truth can be uncomfortable, as it forces us to question long-held beliefs and confront aspects of ourselves that we would prefer to ignore. A fascinating aspect of this message is its universal applicability. No matter what your belief or background, Jesus' invitation in the Gospel of Thomas is accessible to everyone. He encourages us to explore our individual experiences and find meaning in them. This type of approach is especially relevant in a world where people often feel disconnected or in search of something that gives them purpose. By turning inward and recognizing what is around us, we begin to build a bridge between the material and the spiritual. Furthermore, the mystery of revelation is deeply linked to humility. In another verse from the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus mentions that an old man can seek wisdom from a child just a few days old. This seemingly paradoxical image illustrates the idea that knowledge is not limited by age, status, or experience. Wisdom can be found in the most unexpected places, as long as we are open to receiving it. This lesson invites us to abandon the pride and arrogance that often prevent us from learning. How many times do we stop listening to someone because we believe we know more? Or do we ignore an opportunity for growth because it's outside our comfort zone? The mystery and revelation of the Gospel of Thomas remind us that learning is everywhere, and that even the smallest moments can contain profound truths. Historically, revelation has played a fundamental role in the great transformations of humanity. Think about the discovery of the Nag Hammadi texts in 1945. For centuries, these documents were buried, unknown, and their contents were revealed at a time when the world was thirsty for new spiritual perspectives. In a similar way, the Gospel of Thomas challenges us to believe that there are secrets in our own lives waiting to be discovered. But revelation doesn't just happen in grandiose or dramatic moments. It often appears in small gestures and everyday experiences. Think about how a simple act of kindness can transform someone's day, or how a moment of reflection can bring clarity to a dilemma. These moments are reminders that the sacred is present in all aspects of life. Mystery and revelation also invite us to recognize the value of patience. Jesus states that what is hidden will be revealed at the right time. This teaches us the importance of trusting the process and accepting that some answers will only come when we are ready to receive them. This concept is deeply comforting, as it reminds us that the spiritual journey is not a race, but a path we must travel at our own pace. Finally, the Gospel of Thomas presents us with a revolutionary vision of the divine and human nature. He challenges us to actively seek the truth, to value the present, and to recognize the limitless potential that exists within each of us. In doing so, he offers us not only answers, but also the opportunity to live with more authenticity, purpose, and connection. And you? Are you willing to look beyond the superficial and explore the mysteries that await your discovery? Perhaps the answers you are looking for are closer than you think. We live in an era marked by technological advances, global connections, and a constant flow of information. Despite all these achievements, many people report feelings of emptiness, disconnection, and lack of purpose. It is curious to think that, in a world where we know more about the universe than at any other time in history, we still face difficulties in understanding our own essence. And this is where the messages of the Gospel of Thomas find surprising relevance. The words attributed to Jesus in this Gospel present a bold invitation to introspect and rediscover what really matters. He declares that the kingdom of God is not somewhere far away, but within us and all around us. This message is a direct response to contemporary questions about purpose and identity. In a time when so many people turn to external sources, social media, work, and status, to validate their worth, Jesus' teaching reminds us that true fulfillment begins with inner connection. Consider how we currently spend our days. Technology offers us incredible tools, but it also creates invisible barriers. Instead of connecting deeply with who we are, we often get distracted by notifications, comparisons, and a never-ending cycle of productivity. It's as if we are constantly searching for something outside of ourselves, while the answers we really need remain hidden, waiting for attention. This modern dilemma directly reflects what Jesus teaches in the Gospel of Thomas. He says, "If those who lead you say, 'The kingdom is in heaven,' then the birds of the air will go before you. If they say, 'It is in the sea,' the fish will precede it. The kingdom is within you and around you." These simple words carry a profound truth. As long as we continue to look outside for answers, we will never find what we are truly looking for. It is necessary to look inside at our own essence to discover what gives meaning to life. This teaching is echoed in modern practices such as mindfulness, meditation, and positive psychology, which emphasize the importance of being present in the moment and exploring our interiority. Recent research shows that people who practice introspection report less stress and greater emotional well-being. For example, a study conducted by Harvard University revealed that individuals who spend at least 15 minutes a day reflecting on their lives experience a significant reduction in anxiety. This highlights how the idea of the kingdom within us can be translated into practical actions in the modern world. Furthermore, The Gospel of Thomas challenges us to rethink where we place our faith and attention. In an era of polarized opinions and abundant information, it's easy to be guided by outside influences. How often do we allow other people's approval to determine our worth? Or do we follow fashions and trends without questioning whether they really reflect our values? Jesus warns us against this when he says that the kingdom of God cannot be found in leaders or ideologies, but in the authenticity that comes from within. However, this message is not limited to self-knowledge. It also addresses how we relate to the world around us. When Jesus says the kingdom is all around him, he is inviting us to see the sacred in simple, everyday things. It reminds us that spirituality is not something reserved for special times or specific places. It is present in the way we treat others, how we appreciate the beauty of nature, and how we find joy in small things. This perspective helps us live in a more conscious and connected way. A clear example of this in modernity is the movement towards sustainability. Many people are rediscovering the importance of caring for the planet, realizing that there is something divine about protecting and valuing creation. This awareness reflects the idea that the kingdom of God is all around us, in the way we care for what has been entrusted to us. Whether through simple actions, such as reducing waste, or larger changes, such as defending environmental policies, these choices are manifestations of a living and practical spirituality. Furthermore, the Gospel of Thomas invites us to embrace humility and vulnerability. In a world that often celebrates perfection and success, it is comforting to hear that the divine can also be found in times of difficulty and learning. When Jesus talks about the wisdom of a child just a few days old, or about the importance of recognizing what is before us, he is showing us that greatness lies not in pride, but in simplicity and openness to learning. Ultimately, the relationship between the Gospel of Thomas and modernity reminds us that even in the midst of an ever-changing world, fundamental truths remain the same. The search for purpose, connection, and authenticity is universal, and Jesus' words offer a timeless guide to facing the challenges of the present. They encourage us to stop, reflect, and rediscover what really matters, not in external distractions, but in what is deeply rooted in our essence. So how do you apply this today? Maybe start with something simple. Set aside a few moments each day to disconnect from distractions and listen to yourself. Observe what is around you and try to see the sacred in common situations. Remember that spirituality is not something distant, but an ongoing practice that can bring meaning and peace to your life. The kingdom of God, as Jesus teaches, is not a hidden mystery, but a reality available to all who are willing to look beyond the superficial. The question is, are we ready for this? Or will we continue to be trapped by the illusions of a world that distracts us from what really matters? The Gospel of Thomas, with its powerful and timeless words, challenges everything we believe we know about the search for the divine. He reminds us that the kingdom of God is not in distant or unreachable places. It is within each of us, waiting for recognition and acceptance. In a world full of distractions, it's easy to get lost in an endless search for external answers. We seek satisfaction in achievements, we validate our worth through the approval of others, and we often ignore the deeper calling to look within. However, Jesus' words in this gospel are a simple yet transformative reminder. He says that what we seek is already here, present in the moment, and that true wisdom is learning to see clearly what is in front of us. Consider for a moment, how many times have you missed something important because you were distracted by worries or external distractions? What if the secret to a life full of meaning and purpose lay not in new discoveries, but in rediscovering what was already given to you? Jesus invites us to slow down, listen to our intuition, and reconnect with the divine that dwells both within us and around us. This message is especially relevant in the modern world, where the frenetic pace of life can disconnect us from our own essence. As we reflect on the teachings of the Gospel of Thomas, we are reminded that spirituality is not something reserved for special moments or complex practices. It is present in everyday life, in small gestures, and in the ability to live with presence and attention. What will you do with this truth? Will you continue to look outside for what is already inside? Or will you accept the challenge of listening to yourself, of discovering what really matters? These questions are the legacy that this gospel leaves us, not ready-made answers, but an opportunity to re-evaluate our journey. As we close, there is one last invitation. Take a moment today to observe your surroundings. Find the extraordinary in what seems ordinary. Recognize that the kingdom of God is both in the depths of your being and in simple interactions with the world. And remember, what is hidden will be revealed when you are willing to see. The spiritual journey is not linear, nor does it need to be perfect. It is a continuous process of learning, rediscovery, and transformation. The Gospel of Thomas offers us a key, but it is up to each of us to open the door and go through it. And now, what will be the next step in your journey? We've reached the end of this video, but your journey doesn't need to stop here. If this content brought something special to you, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us to continue bringing reflections and messages that make a difference. And how about exploring other content we already have? Click on one of the suggested videos and continue discovering more about topics that can transform your vision. Hope to see you next time.